Good evening and welcome to Poland Daily. I'm Konrad Gorlinski, and this is the news. Well, the Russians are continuing their shelling of Ukrainian cities, but their offensive in the Donbass has stalled. Meanwhile, an informal summit of NATO's chiefs of diplomacy has begun in Berlin. It's also being attended by representatives from Finland and Sweden. Both countries have declared their willingness to join the alliance.
Russian forces intensify bombings of the besieged Azovstal steelworks in Mariupol. The plant located in the port in southern Ukraine is the last stronghold of Ukrainian defenders in the city, which after more than 2 months was almost completely taken over by the aggressors. The situation was announced by the mayor of Mariupol's advisor, Petro Andriushchenko, via the social channel. Under cover of fire, Russian troops are trying to break through to the Azovstal metallurgical plant in Mariupol. The situation becomes more and more complicated day by day. Ukrainian soldiers are still holding back the attack in all directions. According to analysts at the War Research Institute, the Russian army has probably made a decision to withdraw completely from its position around Kharkiv. We were hit by a missile yesterday afternoon. 3 floors have been breached. Fortunately, the bomb did not go off and we avoided casualties. The same targets were hit and damaged again tonight. As you can see, the Palace of Culture is almost completely destroyed. It has nothing to do with military infrastructure. It is a civilian facility. A month ago, the Ukrainian military liberated Chernobyl. Located about 100 kilometers from Kiev, the power plant was one of the main targets of the Russian forces. The vocalist of the band Okean Elzy, SWIATOSÐAW WAKARCZUK, gave a speech for the employees, thanking them for their courage and work. According to the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, the current losses of Russians include, among others, over 27,000 soldiers, 1,218 tanks, and 200 aircraft. Today, however, a 2-day informal meeting of NATO chiefs of diplomacy in Berlin has started. It was not NATO that pushed Sweden and Finland to join, which I would very much support. It was the actions of the Russian president that pushed Finland and Sweden towards an alliance, as they want to continue to live in peace with their neighbors. Delegates from Sweden and Finland will probably ask to join NATO this evening. The criteria for accepting the application is the unanimity of all member states. The only voice of objection is being signaled by Turkey.
Now, the work of the Polish negotiating teams for the National Reconstruction Plan has been completed. Government spokesman Piotr Müller informed that Poland and the European Commission have reached an agreement with regards to the milestones case. The relevant documents have now been submitted for final approval by Brussels. Government spokesman Piotr Müller said that in the matter of approving the Polish National Reconstruction Plan, the formal and final step should now be taken by the European Commission. There's actually only the formal path ahead of us in the European Commission, and then, of course, the implementation of individual reforms that are included in the National Reconstruction Plan. There are many of them because they not only concern the judiciary, that is a narrow section that was discussed only at the very end, but also many economic and system reforms that will be implemented with the use of European Union funds. The agreement was reached by the negotiating teams of Poland and the European Commission, which reached an agreement in the area of the content of the so-called milestones case. The decision to grant funds should be made within a dozen days or so. We've closed the negotiations on the National Reconstruction Plan, so we reached an agreement on all issues that were discussed with the European Commission. The Polish side agreed to the liquidation of the disciplinary chamber of the Supreme Court and the modification of the scope of the disciplinary liability of judges. The fulfillment of these conditions is scheduled for the end of June this year. The needed agreement, although coming very late, turned out that our opposition was successful in blocking it, but not entirely because it was possible to reach an agreement. Everything indicates that the COVID funds for Poland will soon be released. The implementation of the demands against the judicial system was the subject of a dispute within the United Right Coalition between Law and Justice and Solidarna Polska. Ultimately, a compromise was reached here as well. ZBIGNIEW said that this money is owed to Poland like a bone is to a dog. Of course, as Solidarity Poland, we consider this mechanism to be completely unlawful. We were against the consent of the Prime Minister to the so-called conditionality mechanism and linking the adoption of the reconstruction funds with the possibility of blocking money. At the moment, the dispute has been settled in such a way that, for now, Solidarity Poland did not leave the coalition or was not thrown out of it. Additionally, they did not require Glapiński to be chairman of the National Bank. But I think the secret issue is not only personal, but also their overall approach to EU politics. Agnieszka SIEWIERENIUK-MACIOROWSKA believes that it's not yet certain whether these funds will get to Poland at all. What we've been watching for the last months, this whole spectacle related basically to the demands of the European Union that we withdraw from the creation of the House of D. It was in principle to show who's in charge, who's on top. In the National Reconstruction Plan, which is to help the economy after the pandemic, Poland is requesting a 23.9 billion euros available under grants and 11.5 billion euros in loans. And a group of NATO soldiers currently stationed in Poland visited the Royal Castle in Warsaw today. Their tour was organized through the initiative of the Polish National Foundation as part of the Harbinger program. Its purpose is to present the history of Poland to soldiers and to promote Polish culture.
Among other places, the soldiers visited the throne room today. As part of this project from 2020, 24 educational trips were organized, during which participants traveled to key places relevant to Polish history and culture. The aim of the project is to use the rich history of the Republic of Poland to build a positive image of Poland among NATO soldiers. The Zwiastun program is a pioneering, unique project of the Polish National Foundation. The project is really about the soldiers of the NATO Battle Battalion Group. The logic of the project is mainly based on the fact that we decided that we should educate our allies, for example, the officers as well as soldiers, and tell them beautifully about Poland. The visitors are members of the NATO Battalion Battle Group, including Americans, British people, Croatians, and Romanians. From 2017, participants visited important places throughout Poland, including Kraków, Oświęcim, Wrocław, and Gdynia.
We're very excited to have an opportunity to visit such a historical place. We believe that history is something that we can all learn from. So as American soldiers, we have been excited about being able to learn more about the Polish culture, about the Polish people, about the Polish history. So we are very happy to be here.
2,000 soldiers have already participated in the entire program because the program is a long-term program. It has been running since 2017. Similar initiatives are planned, and they will cover further foreign units in which NATO soldiers are present. Among the undertaken activities, apart from educational activities, there are also those that respond to direct requests of program participants. Now, the response from NATO soldiers that they want to meet our guests from Ukraine is amazing. Yesterday, we spent the afternoon at the kindergarten of the Sisters of the Immaculate Conception in Łomianki. I saw sweaty young people coming out, carrying these children in their arms. That was a beautiful scene to see. Very wonderful. Parents who were happy too, and those mothers from Ukraine who looked at it, really with emotion. Soldiers stationed in Poland also visited the General Memorial Chamber today. Ryszard Kukliński, the character gloriously went down in history as Jack Strong. The general collaborated with American intelligence during the Cold War. He did betray his superiors in the Polish People's Army and in the Warsaw Pact, but he undoubtedly did so in order not to betray the Polish nation. History has proven more than once that the Polish soldier is willing to make a special sacrifice in the name of independence. In his program, the Polish National Foundation updates this image. It is aimed at clarifying the ties within the framework of the North Atlantic Treaty.
And finally, the people of Jerusalem said goodbye yesterday to Al Jazeera journalist Shireen Abu Akleh. The woman died from a shot to the head during an Israeli attack on the Jenin refugee camp. During the funeral ceremony today, Israeli police attacked the Palestinian mourners. The morning procession left St. Joseph's Hospital, where the body of the deceased journalist was located, towards the Jaffa Gate, the main entrance to the Old Town. The funeral took place in the Cathedral of the Annunciation of the Mother of God. Shireen Abu Akleh was laid to rest next to her parents in the Mount Zion Protestant Cemetery. However, there were tensions during the funeral ceremony. According to witnesses, Israeli officials allegedly used tear gas against Palestinians who shouted anti-Israeli slogans. In addition, the policemen also attacked with truncheons the people carrying the coffin containing the body of the journalist. Tel Aviv has countered the allegations by saying that the intervention was forced due to stones being thrown at its officers by Palestinians. Eventually, the security forces allowed the coffin to be transported by caravan. Shireen Abu Akleh was killed on Wednesday while covering an Israeli attack on a refugee camp in the city of Jenin in the occupied West Bank. Accompanying journalists and the leadership of Al Jazeera maintain that Israeli officials are responsible for the death of the journalist. The Israeli side rejects these accusations. As usual, thanks very much for joining us this evening. Please stay with us for Poland Daily Weather, Poland Daily Business, and other programs. But from me, it's have a wonderful Saturday night.